Hello, everyone, and welcome to this morning's morning reflection on the 20th of April this year. And it's good to be with you this morning for this short reflection. First of all, however, happy Easter, everyone. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Hallelujah. We're in the second week of the Easter season and still suffused with that joy. The reason why I start like this is that my first memory of this exchange was with my dad when I was probably, I think 10 or 11 years old. He woke me up in my bedroom in our house in Edinburgh on what I think must have been a relatively early Easter Sunday morning, early in the year that is, as it was a little chilly outside and there was actually a thin film of ice on the inside of my bedroom window. You must remember that this was in the Scotland of the late 1960s, and central heating was just a delight to be anticipated in the future. But what contrasted with the icy weather was the spiritual fire of that Easter Sunday morning greeting. To be honest, I'm not sure we actually said the Hallelujah, reserved South Edinburgh Scots after all, but we did the rest. Now, that spiritual fire of the first morning of Christ's resurrection, however, has stayed with me through what I think would be quite reasonable to describe as the thick and thin of the roller coaster that is following Jesus. I imagine that we might perhaps all have spent the last 10 days or so reflecting on that roller coaster. The events leading up to Christ's crucifixion, and what must have been the rather bewildering experiences of his first followers, who were witness to his resurrection, both at the empty tomb and afterwards in the locked room, and not to mention the conversation on the road to Emmaus. These must have been challenging for them, as, well, at least to myself, they remain challenging to this day. Last week on Thursday, I had the opportunity to share with friends from different churches in Ilkley, where I live, in what we call our Thought of the Day service or reflection. This was in the first week of the Easter season, and when I was thinking about the service, the question that came to mind was, what just happened? I really do believe that the disciples and followers of Christ in that first Easter week must surely have been asking themselves this question, even perhaps after they had witnessed Jesus risen. And through what I would call, I think, my own roller coaster of following Christ, I continually ask that question myself, not just in the week after Easter, but throughout the year, and indeed the years. Perhaps at least in part, I do this because I'm a scientist and a medical doctor by training, and that's led me to focus on the evidence for what I understand and believe. Those who trained me in the scientific method, and there were many, I suspect would expect nothing less of me. But although this remains and always will be a challenge for me, I do reflect on the position that Thomas took when he wasn't present in the locked room, when Jesus first revealed himself as risen to the disciples, perhaps rather unfairly dubbed Doubting Thomas. Thomas wanted the physical evidence, but ultimately, when Jesus said to him, "Here is what you want," he offered him that physical evidence. Thomas didn't need it. He knew Jesus then as Lord and as God. And perhaps in that moment, Thomas shared that sense that the disciples on the road to Emmaus had experienced when they talked with Jesus. That sense of the fire of his message in their hearts. And I pray that this morning, every day, that you may all experience that same sense of spiritual fire, this Easter season and always. Thank you for being with me, and God bless.